One, two, three. Three, two, four.
Hello everyone, I am BeBetterGamer and welcome to BeBetterGamer Wrestling, the channel dedicated to wrestling video games fueled by my love, passion, and obsession for them. Thank you so much on clicking on this video. I am playing WWF No Mercy and I am bringing you another one of my created wrestlers, a CAW if you will, and it is going to be none other than Sycho Sid. That's right, Sycho Sid, the almost 7-foot tall monster of a man, the man, as he used to call himself, just like how Becky Lynch calls herself the man these days, although I think Becky Lynch is probably more deserving of that moniker. But nonetheless, Sycho Sid, he was around for a while. Definitely notable for some of his antics in and out of the ring, some good, most negative, but nonetheless I'm making him in WWF No Mercy. He's a pretty easy call to make. Let's start with the body medium 1. Skin tone, I chose the second skin tone there. Head, I went with head male 6 actually for this call. That's a head size I don't usually use a lot. Male 33 is the face that I chose. Hair, we went with curly hair. It's not as curly as I would like it to be, and I also wish the back of the hair went a little bit more down, closer to the shoulders. That would have really looked like how Sid used to have his hair. He did have curly hair. And the second, darker blonde, I went with short tights for his ring attire. But again, he has a very basic outfit. This is very easy to do. Elbow pad, left supporter. He also sometimes wore 2 supporters, but I went with the 1 supporter look. That's usually what you saw him wear the most. Wristband 1, change it to white, default white color. Knee pad 2 is what I went with for his knee pads. We're gonna leave them default here for this outfit. Boots 09 is what I went for his feet, and once again, default. Entrance attire, I went with the biker vest, which I believe appeared first in Virtual Wrestling 2. You could use that for Stan Hansen, but here I think it works perfectly for Sycho Sid. I think it actually looks a little bit better than the Austin vest for Sid here. But you could also use the Austin vest if you want. His second attire, this is actually kind of a rare attire I've seen him wear in WWF. His red attire, you can most notably see him wearing it during the very first In Your House pay-per-view, where he wrestled against Shawn Michaels for the WWF Championship, had quite a rivalry with Shawn Michaels. Just basically changed the ring attire and the knee pads to red, and you can see here I omitted the biker vest because he didn't wear it to the ring. This is his baby blue or light blue attire. Most people, when they remember Sid's first run in WWF, his early run, specifically his moment at the Royal Rumble 92 where he held Hogan's hand and caused Hogan to be eliminated and Ric Flair winning. He wore the baby blue outfit, so I went ahead and gave him that. You can also change his name to Sid Justice here if you want. You could also change his name to Sid Vicious probably here, but Sycho Sid, this is his 4th attire. I usually don't put like street attire, if you will, when they're wearing just street clothes. I like usually to focus on wrestling outfits, but I went with the jeans look here because you actually saw Sid wear this a lot, when he was ECW for like a hot minute, and then when he went to WCW, a lot of times he did wear outfits revolving around him wearing jeans or jean shorts with knee pads. So this is more closely based on his look when he was in ECW. And again, the biker vest as the entrance attire, but you could also have it as just part of the outfit. So there's the Sycho Sid. Again, super easy, very simple to make, nothing flashy about Sycho Sid. The full call, the move set, the parameters, all that stuff is going to be in the description below. So make sure you click on the description of this video for links to the entire spreadsheet that has everything typed out for you, ready to go if you want to put this in the vanilla version of WWF No Mercy. Obviously, there's a bunch of really cool mods out there where I have seen people do some really cool mods with Sycho Sid where you can get the hair and you can get his actual face. But vanilla version of No Mercy, like this is the year 2000, and I wanted to do Sycho Sid. He's not one of my favorite wrestlers. Honestly, I was never really a huge fan of Sycho Sid, although when I was younger I did enjoy watching his feud with Shawn Michaels and, you know, Bret Hart around that time, probably because I was more into what Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart was doing, and how, you know, Sid was kind of the third wheel in that whole storyline, with Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart feuding over the title after WrestleMania 12. He was very much a transitional WWF champion, and recently I've been focusing on the WWF Championship path, the last championship path I have to do in WWF No Mercy. And if you notice, the past few WWF No Mercy calls have all been former WWF champions. And I think it's interesting that Sid did become WWF champion the time he did become WWF champion, because it seemed for a very long time, not just with WWF but also with WCW, they always wanted to make Sid a main event star, and he was a main event star for brief moments in time, both with WCW and WWF, but he never really took off. I don't think he really ever achieved what both WWF and WCW wanted to achieve. Part of it could have been his in-ring work. He was he was 6'9", close, getting close to 7 foot, big dude, very intimidating looking, had a great look. But as far as like big men go, in terms of wrestling ability, I wouldn't put him at the top of the list. When you had guys running around like Undertaker and Vader, and the things that they could do in the ring, and then you look at Sid, he didn't really compare all that much. He had a lot of charisma, I would give him that. He was very charismatic. He played the Sycho character well. Sycho spelled with S-Y-C-H-O, no P. They omitted the P, I assume for alliteration reasons. And he did that pretty well, where he would have these bursts of energy, bursts of intensity, but sometimes that would cause him to slip up. There's a lot of clips out there with Sid messing up on promos, messing up in the ring. I thought it was actually kind of funny looking back on it. I kind of wish maybe he leaned into it more. I think at this time of wrestling, the late 90s, I feel like a lot of the wrestlers took themselves very seriously, and even the feud between Shawn Michaels and Sid is kind of notable for that. With the infamous WWF Championship match at Madison Square Garden for Survivor Series 96, where Shawn Michaels goes in as the babyface and Sid the top heel, but the fans kind of go against the script, the classic MSG audience. I'm from New York City, so I can relate. Boo the babyface, cheer the heel. And it's debatable whether or not people were booing Shawn Michaels because they hated Shawn Michaels at the time and they didn't want to see him as the top babyface, or if the WWF fans in MSG at the time really were starting to get fond of Sid and the work he was doing. It was very entertaining, and again, he was very charismatic. Just watching him come out and like fist bumping everyone. He did. There were moments where he did look like the coolest wrestler on the planet, and then there was a lot of moments where he looked like the most uncool wrestler of the planet. And I think that pretty much like sums up Sid's career, as a whole, from going back and forth between WCW and WWF. I think it's interesting that throughout all this time where Sid was around for a large portion of the 90s, and he did bounce back and forth between WCW and WWF, he missed out on being in a single Aki game. He's not in WrestleMania 2000. He never makes it into the WCW games. Just the timing is so interesting for someone who was a quote-unquote top star of those times, yet we never see him make it into the Aki wrestling game. So definitely kind of like a little asterisk there for Sid for never making it into the Aki games. He was later on featured in a bunch of other wrestling games, most notably recently he was in 2K19, and I believe he was in one of the SNES and Genesis games back in the day. I might be misremembering that, but I have a feeling he was like in the Royal Rumble or Super WrestleMania or something like that, right? That was part of his early run with WWF. Again, when he wore the baby blue and he was Sid Justice, but then he quickly turned heel because he turned on Hogan. And he got 2 WrestleMania main events during both of his stints in WWF. First, WrestleMania 8, he main evented with Hulk Hogan, non-title match. It was a direct result of the fallout of Royal Rumble 92, where he caused Hogan to lose, and then Ric Flair won, and Ric Flair became the champion because the title was on the line for the Royal Rumble. That's still my favorite Royal Rumble of all time. And then he would main event WrestleMania 13 in his second return to WWF. And what I think is interesting about both those WrestleMania main events is that it was originally perceived that the WrestleMania 8 main event was going to be a no-brainer. It was going to be Hogan and Flair. And then WrestleMania 13, a lot of people expected it to be a rematch between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Both those both those plans fell through. And we ended up getting Sid and Hogan at WrestleMania 8 and Sid and Undertaker at WrestleMania 13. Now, rumor has it that the reason why the Hogan-Flair match didn't go down was because it didn't test well for house shows, which I don't really believe. You know, people were going to show up at WrestleMania 8 regardless. And I doubt that if people saw that, oh, Hogan is fighting Flair, oh, I'm not going to buy tickets to this WrestleMania 8. I think people were going to show up. At that time, WrestleMania was already being established as a, you know, premier event for WWF. And, you know, with WrestleMania 13, Shawn Michaels, his backstage sort of ego and politicking prevented that Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels rematch from happening, even though Bret Hart wrote in his book that he was told that match was going to happen. And then, of course, plans changed. There we go, the big super snap powerbomb. I love that move. You could also give him the jackknife powerbomb, the one that Kevin Nash does in WCW End of Revenge. But I decided to give him the big, I call it the Norton bomb, because that's what Norton would do in WCW End of Revenge, as well as Virtual Wrestling 2. I think it fits Sid very well. If you've been watching the match, you notice I gave him a lot of big powerhouse moves. Very fun call to make. Very easy call to make. And I think he fits very well in the Aki games. You know, I'll let you tell me what you feel about Sid. He's such an interesting character to me. Again, never really one of my favorites, but kind of fascinated sort of how he appeared and reappeared throughout wrestling history. And again, if you look at how he was sort of slotted into 2 WrestleMania main events, definitely creates a unique narrative as to the, you know, historical context, which is something I like to talk about all the time in my channels, and what was going on in the world of wrestling and how somehow Sid managed to benefit from that, or maybe in retrospect he didn't benefit from that because he was kind of overexposed. You decide. You let me know in the comments below what you think about Sid, Sid Vicious, Sid Justice, Sycho Sid, whatever you want to call him. Thank you so much for watching this video. Check out my other WWF No Mercy calls and my WWF No Mercy Let's Plays. Make sure you follow me on Twitch if you want to see me play this game as well as other wrestling games at BeBetterGamer. And until then, until next time, keep watching all the wrestling.